Hello and welcome to this video on Microsoft PowerPoint and how to use it effectively once you are in the office. So we're going to be looking at creating good looking slides and making sure that our presentation is effective. Here there's some simple text in the middle of the slide that just says Video 7 using MS Office. But if we go up to the Design tab at the top here, then you can see that there is a ribbon just below that gives us a whole bunch of templates in order for us to choose. So we can pick any of these templates and it will give our slide a different feel. What it also does is it opens up the Design Ideas tab automatically without us having to do anything. You can close the Design Ideas tab by just clicking on it and reopen the Design Ideas tab by clicking on it again. So the Design Ideas will allow you to choose from similar themed ideas that you can just click through, see which ones you like, see which ones you don't, and it'll position the text in interesting ways and banners and colors and shapes that will also go along. You can see that because it says the word video, there is a video theme in terms of the clip art being used and that kind of thing, so that it knows what text you've got and it tries to make it appropriate. What you can also do is see it adjust as you add in different things. So let's put in a picture. So let's insert a picture. Here we're going to insert the Ultra logo. And you can see the Design Ideas thinking. And then it is adjusting as we go. So here you can see that it's created a template slide for us with not very much time spent on it, not very much effort spent on it, and it has adjusted the content according to our needs. So now we'll insert a new slide, and we don't want it exactly the same as the title slide, so we will go to New Slide and we will pick Title and Content. So we can put in anything we like in here, so we'll call this Slide 2. And we will put in a list. So let's say parts of the body. So with this list, it looks okay, but there are much more interesting things that we can do with this list. So we can convert it into smart art. So we're on the Insert tab already. And you can see that there is a Smart Art tab here. We can also just highlight the text that we've created. We can right click and we can pick Convert to Smart Art. So different options available to us. We can pick any one of these. Let's go with our basic cycle option. And suddenly our list comes to life. We can move that around anywhere we like, and it just gives us a much better looking, much more presentable list than just plain text. And whilst we're on the Insert tab and we're talking about it, there are plenty of other useful things that you can insert. So you can insert charts in the same way that we looked at in Microsoft Word, so pie charts, columns, bar charts, etc. You can also insert videos either from the web or videos that you have stored on your local PC, and audio clips, sounds to emphasize slides as you come to particular points. So there's lots of things you can insert. Other things you can do, slightly more advanced, you can go to 3D models. Under the 3D models, there are all sorts of things that you can put in. And here we're going to pick from electronics and gadgets, we will pick the laptop. So choose that, click insert. Might take a second to render, and then what should appear is a 3D laptop that we can spin around as we like. And here it is. So here we can spin the laptop, we can animate it as we want to. These are just examples of things that you can do were you so inclined. And that brings us nicely on to animations. Animations are a very useful part of any PowerPoint presentation. Unfortunately, they tend to be overused by presenters, and they use flashy and distracting animations which don't add to the presentation as a whole. So we can click on the Animations tab up the top, and you can see that now we can see all the animation effects. The best thing to do is to click on the animation pane button immediately. The animation pane will give you much more detail about the animations that you're adding, the order that they are being used in. It just lets you manage the whole process in a much more efficient way. So do click the animation pane, disappears and appears, and this really is my top tip for animations. So in order to have something to animate, let's go to the Insert tab and we will insert a text box so that we can animate something, and we'll put some text in our text box. It's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and we'll make the font bigger because slides generally have bigger font. Okay, good. So now we're going to go back to our animations box, and we would like point 1 to come in first as we talk about point 1, and then only when we click do we want to reveal point 2, etc. So we're going to pick a nice subtle and tasteful animation. So we're going to do fade for point 1, and we're going to do fade for point 2, and you can see on the right hand side that this is now appearing in the animation pane in the order that these things will appear, so that we can reorder those things and move them around as we like. Going to fade again for point 3, and then we're going to pick something flashy and annoying for point 4. So let's pick grow and turn, or maybe even worse, bounce. Yes, bounce. So that will complete our animation series. So now if you press Shift and F5, Shift and F5 is really incredibly useful if you use PowerPoint a lot, and what that does is takes you to the current slide that you're working on as if you were seeing it in a presentation. So we'll hit Shift and F5. Here is our slide. I click the mouse button, point 1 appears. I'm talking very intelligently about point 1, and I'm giving you all the information you need without distracting you with point 2 because you can't see that yet. I now click, point 2 appears, same thing. I click and point 3 appears, and then our over flashy animation appears. When I click, point 4 appears. So that's how the animations work with the animation pane. So if we wanted to move the order, we can drag these around and move them around so they appear in a different order. We can also right click on them or use the drop down so that it can start on click. So that's usually the thing that you want so that you're in complete control. You can click and it will appear. You can make it start with the previous animation so that you click once and maybe 2 or 3 of them appear at the same time, so a section of things appears with them. You can start it after the previous one, so you can have a slight delay of say a few seconds before yours appears. So if we start point 2, let's say after the previous one, and we can then go to Effect Options. So here you can pick sounds and things like that, but there's also timing. It's after previous, and we can delay it, let's say, by 3 seconds. And you could affect the duration of the animation as well. You could make it a slow animation over 3 seconds, and you could repeat the animation too. So what that's going to look like is Shift and F5. So as we do point 1, I'm not going to press the mouse again, but the timer has started for point 2, and it is automatically appearing after a few seconds. Now nothing will happen again until I click the mouse button, because I dragged the point 4 around. That will now appear next because I moved the order in the animation pane, and now when I click again, point 3 will appear. So you can see that the animation pane gives you control over how these things appear. You can see them all clearly. can change the way the animations work, the timing associated with them, and the animations themselves. You can animate smart art, you can animate objects, sounds, videos to come in at different points in order to make your slideshow work effectively. So on a related theme to animation is transitions. So whilst animation takes care of what happens within a slide, transitions covers what happens between slides. So if we click on the transitions tab at the top here, and we get the options available to us for the transitions tab. So one of the most interesting transitions is morph. So if we pick the morph option between these two slides, now what's going to happen here is if we go back to Shift and F5, which we love. So here is our acquisition slide, and what's going to happen when I go to the next slide is it will morph itself into the next slide. So you can see the slide effectively being animated between it. So here is the first slide, and as I switch to the next slide, it morphs to animate what's happening in the next slide, which is a much smoother way of animating between similar slides or when you're trying to show differences between them. So the final thing I want to cover is the slide master view for PowerPoint. So if we go up to the View tab at the top, this tab here, and we click on it, and then down towards the left-hand side is the slide master view. So if we click on the slide master view and we scroll all the way to the top, this gives us our master slide. It allows us to change the font of all the slides or the colors of all the slides at the touch of a button without having to go through each slide individually. So if we change the font to, let's pick something that we are going to see the difference with. So let's pick Arial Black. That's nice and thick. And change the colors from sort of bluish to maybe reddish. And let's see what's happened. So if we close our slide master view, here you can see that our fonts have changed, our colors have changed from blue to sort of orangey and red, and it allows us to do it for everything all at once rather than trying to change each slide.